Hi everyone, Alex Wilson here again from the DBT Download and Mindful Recovery Services on the New South Wales Central Coast. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about cognitive behavioral therapy, and the differences between cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT and dialectical therapy, which is DBT. Okay, so I'm going to use those letters: CBT for cognitive behavioral therapy and DBT for dialectical behavioral therapy. Now, DBT is technically a form of cognitive behavioral therapy, but it differs from traditional CBT in some quite significant ways. Now, traditional CBT is basically, in a nutshell, about thoughts, cognitions, right? So, traditional CBT would say our thoughts are not fact. And sometimes we have cognitive distortions, which are unhelpful and untruthful thoughts that trigger distress. So, the idea in traditional CBT is if I can recognize my cognitive distortions, my unhealthy, unhelpful thought patterns, then I can challenge them, replace them with more healthy thought patterns, and then my emotions will improve. Now, that's all true. Yep, good. The problem with traditional CBT is that it sort of only goes so far, though. And so lots and lots of people that I've worked with have done traditional CBT as a first sort of form of treatment because it is often recommended for anxiety as a first form of treatment. And they'll say, yeah, Alex, I understand that my thoughts are not always factual and helpful, and I can recognize that and I can challenge them, but I still don't feel better, right? They say, I still feel overwhelmed by intense emotion. I still struggle with self-image. I'm still feeling like my emotions are out of control. So this is where DBT comes in. And so DBT, we do talk about cognitions and thoughts, and we have a skill called check the facts, which is how can I tell whether these thoughts are accurate? So we definitely want to do that, but that's only a small part of what we do. The other things we do in DBT is to incorporate a lot more physical and tangible skills to get through distress without making things worse. So very behavioral focused around, we're focusing on changing behavior rather than just looking at thoughts. And we're also incorporating acceptance and mindfulness-based concepts. So I talked in a previous episode about DBT being a little bit of East meets West. So traditional cognitive behavioral therapy is a very Western model about challenging thoughts. And DBT says, yep, that's great, but we're also going to work on acceptance of what we can't change, because sometimes those thoughts can get stuck and we don't want to then beat ourselves up because we can't change our thoughts, right? Having awareness of that is important, but also accepting I'm just struggling with this, or this feels particularly tricky today, or distress is high today. And then we want to bring mindfulness skills, which is awareness and non-judgment, to that as well. With traditional CBT, sometimes what I've seen happen with people is that they can take it to the extreme where they shame themselves as they start to realize that their thoughts aren't true, right? So they just add it to the list of things that they're doing wrong. And sometimes that can make them feel worse. So that's where acceptance and mindfulness can come in to sort of soften that. We still want the awareness, but we don't want that to spiral into more self-blame and shame. All right. Hope that helps for today. I will catch you next time. Bye.